Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Kentucky lawmakers could consider a revamped school choice bill this year, a law to use tax credits to help fund accounts for families to send their kids to schools outside their districts or to private ones was passed last year, but was ruled unconstitutional. It's currently waiting to be heard by the state Supreme Court. WYMT's Phil Pendleton explains what the new bill would do if the controversial issue is held up in court.
A Franklin Circuit judge struck down the bill that was passed last year, saying that it was unconstitutional. But the Supreme Court has agreed to hear an appeal, and now there's a new bill that would expand what lawmakers passed last year.
Because there's just so many wonderful private schools throughout the state that want to serve students, and we want to help those families in those communities.
House Bill 305 and Senate Bill 50 would allow the education opportunity grants funded by tax credits in all Kentucky counties. Families would have the options of non-public or schools in other districts. Last year's bill only allowed it in larger counties.
But what we do know is that this is something that 70% of Kentuckians want to see statewide, and that's regardless whether they're Democrats, Republicans, or independent.
These bills really aren't about helping students. They're more about providing tax credits for large corporations and for rich donors.
Some educators fear laws like this will hurt schools when they are not being fully funded.
It's not just our public schools, but our roads, our police, our emergency services, all those things that help move the Commonwealth forward.
Of course, time is of the essence. Today is day 48 of a 60-day session. Last year's bill was passed in the final days of that session. Really just 2 weeks left to consider legislation. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
The bills, if passed, would also make the program permanent. Right now, it's only a 5-year program.
Yeah, we're watching clouds increase out there as afternoon turns into evening, but still plenty of sunshine out there as we head around the region. Outside right now, I-64 at Moorhead. We can see those high clouds pushing in, but the blue sky still there as well, as also evidenced by that little lens flare we see on the screen there as well. As we head on down to I-75 at London, we're starting to see a little bit more of that cloud cover work on through. Some of that filtered sunshine, but it's pretty filtered. And I-75 at Mount Vernon, looks like they got a lane closed there as well. But so far so good in terms of traffic at this hour, even though we are starting to increase the cloud cover. Mid-60s around the region this evening. We'll continue to see those slowly drop through the 50s out there, especially in areas that see that cloud cover work in as we continue along and south mainly of the Highway 80 Hal Rogers Parkway corridor, which is where we're going to see the greatest risk for some showers tomorrow. You see there's already gathering steam across the deep south, so keep that WYMT weather app handy. You'll have our forecast in the palm of your hand, as well as the latest radar and satellite imagery, and of course the easiest way for you to get photos to us to see what's going on in your area. As you look at that forecast, we're down into the 40s as clouds increase tonight. I'll have the latest on when showers could return coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right. Thank you very much, Evan. 3 students were hurt in a school bus crash in Menifee County. The superintendent says yesterday the bus met another vehicle in a curve on Highway 1693 and dropped off the blacktop. The bus turned on its side, as you can see there. 48 students and the driver were on the bus. 3 students went to the hospital with only minor injuries. Students from the group Mighty Shades of Ebony are trying to stop Republicans from passing Senate Bill 138. Supporters have said the measure would offer a strong guideline for teaching, while those opposing have deemed it unnecessary. The group says the bill would silence students wanting to share their voice, as well as force teachers to improperly cover race and LGBTQ+ topics.
And I think it's not okay for adults to look at children and think, oh, we're not as valuable. Our message is not as valuable than everyone else in the state.
The bill is currently being discussed in the GOP-dominated House. Tomorrow will be 1 week since Shepherdsville PD lost a comrade and friend. Last Wednesday, K-9 officer Dash was shot and killed. But today, an emotional donation honors his memory. Today, a Bardstown business, SPM Logistics, which is a freight shipping and trucking company, made a donation to the Shepherdsville Police Department. They were also heartbroken about what happened to Dash. The company made a donation of $15,000 to the department, money that will help Shepherdsville Police invest back into the K-9 department.
I think the only thing I can say is the outpouring from the community across the state and even across the country has been unbelievable, to say the least. So from the bottom of my heart and my family's heart, thank you everybody so much for everything.
Thank you. We're so sorry for your loss.
Chief McCubbin says they have been getting so much support and donations that every penny collected will go to purchasing and training 2 new K-9 dogs. PG&J's Dog Park Bar in Louisville opened during the height of a pandemic, but plans for the bar far predate COVID-19. Owner Gina Noble says 2021 was a real struggle, but you could say at the very least she got a kick out of it, as she and kickboxing trainer Donna French partnered together to help bring in customers by bringing in her dogs into the picture.
It is definitely a relief to find a partner and to find a place where you're starting to thrive and starting to feel like you're building something back. And, you know, hopefully it's just the start of something even bigger.
Those kickboxing classes happen every Saturday at PG&J's. If you ever plan to visit Louisville for the weekend, we have a link to those classes on our website. Model Hailey Bieber is now home after being hospitalized last week for stroke-like symptoms. Strokes are affecting more people 49 and younger, as reported by the American Heart Association. When it comes to a stroke, getting care as quickly as possible is crucial. But one word can help you remember and identify symptoms.
FAST, F-A-S-T. The F stands for facial drooping. So if one side of your face is suddenly drooping, pay attention. The A stands for arm or leg weakness on one side. The S stands for speech difficulty. And the T means time to call 911.
Young people should know their numbers. Talk to their doctor about blood pressure, blood sugar, and blood cholesterol, which are all things that can contribute to stroke risk, and make a plan to control those if need be. Allergy sufferers beware. A new study suggests allergy season is getting worse, and it's all because of climate change. Wind-driven pollen is closely tied to temperature and precipitation changes. So as spring seasons get warmer earlier, plants could pollinate much earlier and for a longer period of time. The study found different tree pollen varieties that once varied in timing will eventually overlap with each other, and that will lead to overall higher concentrations of tree pollen that threaten public health. The research found that by the end of this century, pollen season in the U.S. could begin 40 days earlier than now, and the pollen count could climb by 250%. It's already bad enough for me. Well, a years-long fight for better access to care for rape victims is now law. Today, President Biden signed the Violence Against Women Act, which includes provisions of a bipartisan bill for victims of sexual assault. CBS's Natalie Brand introduces us to a survivor who fought for national change.
I saw a system that had failed me at every level, from the hospital to the police to the prosecutors.
Leah Griffin of Seattle has fought for change for survivors of sexual assault ever since her rape in 2014.
I went to the closest emergency room, told them what happened. They shrugged their shoulders and said, "We don't do rape kits here." Hours later, I was able to get a rape kit at a different hospital across the city, but the delay in care caused a catastrophic series of failures in my case, and I never got justice.
But now she's received justice of a different kind.
Thank you.
New law signed Tuesday develops national standards of care and a federal grant program incentivizing hospitals to train specialized nurses known as sexual assault forensic examiners.
My goal is that every hospital in this country, urban, rural, anywhere, will have someone who is trained as a SANE nurse to be able to help a victim of sexual assault, be able to process the evidence that they need.
Washington Senator Patty Murray crafted the bipartisan legislation after hearing about Griffin's case and discovering the problem was widespread.
And I was stunned at how many hospitals and healthcare providers did not have someone trained to be able to do this work.
The new bill will help uncover where gaps remain,
To finally see it across the finish line is the accomplishment of a lifetime.
with the ultimate goal of making sure what happened to Griffin doesn't happen to anyone else. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Alaska Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski co-sponsored the legislation. In some parts of her state, it requires a plane trip for sex assault victims to receive the necessary care. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, as prices continue to increase, your family budget may start to feel a pinch. We have some tips on how to help manage the increases and maybe even bring in some extra cash.
And we've got a few showers returning to the forecast as a weak system heads our way, but it shouldn't hurt those nice temperatures at all. I've got the very latest on the way.